What if the greatest leadership challenge you'll ever face isn't leading other people? What if it's leading yourself?
Welcome to the Conscious Leaders Unfiltered, the podcast where we strip away the masks, challenge old patterns, have the conversations most people avoid, and explore what it really means to lead with awareness, courage, and authenticity.
I'm Kiah.
And I'm Cheryl. Let's get
Unfiltered.
unfiltered. Welcome, listeners, to the debut episode of the Conscious Leaders Unfiltered, a podcast that was created from a place of love and passion and recognition that there is a supreme lack of self-awareness and accountability out there in the world today. We are creating this movement to be able to help guide people to start on this path or to move forward on this path, to be able to share stories, excite everyone to see how important it is to live a conscious leadership life. Remembering that a conscious leader does not mean leading just a group of people. It's how you show up every single day. It is how you choose to move through each moment of each and every day, every relationship, every interaction, every moment is yours. And this is why we are here. I have this beautiful co-host, Kiah, and I have to share exactly how it is that we came to meet. We have had the pleasure of working together for a number of years, and we've had the most spectacular conversations along the way. So thank you. And I know there's one very special one close to my heart that just I will never forget until the day I die. So I really appreciate that to this day. Through all of these conversations that I've had with Kiah and her, not recognizing that I was on this conscious leadership journey myself, and she was kind of on one on her own. I had started this journey about 2 years ago, and then just how everything fell into place and the way that I fell into this is what feels right. Kiah showed up exactly the moment that I needed her to be able to say, yes, this is my next step with this podcast, to be able to have somebody that matches my energy, that has the same passion and excitement and inspiration as I do for all things conscious and leadership, and just being that really good, kind human. We had one conversation as I was planning this, and I was asking her to be a host. I was asking her to be a guest. And through that conversation, though, I'm like, oh, I already know you're going to be my co-host. But she was like, I'm going to let her tell the rest of her story. But once I let it out and I said, this is what I'm doing, I was so excited for her to say she would be a guest, when really, I just knew that this was a journey that we were going to take together.
You did
I'm going to let Kiah now share from that moment how that felt for her.
I mean, yeah, I have known Cheryl as a leader in a different capacity than I'm a leader. But, you know, when two people share a passion and they share something that is like so closely connected, and they're trying really hard to motivate people and make moments matter and make people's work and effort and purpose shine, it kind of like game recognizes game. The two souls meet. And every conversation I've had with Cheryl has been inspiring. Every time I've seen her with her teams, it's been inspiring. And my journey is less leadership of a group and more leadership of, I don't know, what would you even call them? Of like programs and all of the people that come with them. But we have an immense amount of trust in each other. And so when Cheryl said to me, I'm thinking about doing this podcast, and she kind of gave me like a background of the journey and how she got to this place, I was like, that sounds so exciting, because the greatest fight that I fight on a daily basis is to get leaders to see inside of themselves what matters most about them as leaders. It's not what you're telling people to do. It's how you're bringing people along for the journey. It's not what you think the goal needs to be or respecting a hierarchy. It is really driving a force, driving an energy, driving a space to create the best possible outcome for everybody. And as Cheryl was telling me about this concept of conscious leadership, I was like, this is so right up my alley. It's like hitting everything that I love. And I said, of course, I'll be a guest. She sent me a list of topics to choose from. I was like, I don't even know. Sorry. Actually, prior to you sending me the list of topics to choose from, you were like, but actually, I know you're going to be the co host. I was like, oh, for the whole chat she said it, I was like, this is wild. So as I'm looking at the topics, I'm like, I can't even choose one. So I was like, Cheryl, just pick the thing that you think I would be great to do, and I will do the thing. And then you were like, well, let's just do like a test. I was like, great, let's just do a test. And as I was sitting here going through the conversation with Cheryl, I was like, geez, this is really inspiring. And from the moment we opened that to the moment we closed it, I was like, there's nothing else I would rather do. This is really a journey that I want to be on so much because it's such an important topic. And it's such an important topic because it's not just about discussions about action. It's about change. It's about shifting the way folks interact, not just in their workplace, but what the culture of the world should look like, where people are intentional, where they show up with purpose, where they show up with care, where they show up with empathy, and where they deal with the idea of what matters is what's in people. So I think it's pretty obvious, actually, Cheryl. Like, as I was just like running it off there, I was like, oh, yeah, here we are.
Here we are. The change makers, really, like that's the movement. We want change, but change has to start from within, always. And that's so if we can share our stories, our journeys of how we change, because I'm telling you, like, I came from, I came from the 90s leadership mentality to where I am now. And that's a stretch. Like that is a lot of self-reflection. That's a lot of internal work. That's a lot of, shedding beliefs. It was, it was work. It was work. Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, it's not just one topic. It's not just one topic that you can have on one episode of a podcast. And that's why we chose to do this as our concept, because it's just never ending. There's never any end to change, which sounds terrifying and slightly discouraging, but every day you get to wake up and be able to do something better or to impact somebody in a way that and it doesn't even matter if you know that you're making that impact with that person. It's how you show up every single day, right? Again, I can't say it enough. So that's what I want. I want to be the change. I want to impact change. And that's why there are so many different levels to conscious leadership. There are so many topics that we could discuss for hours on end. And no lie, between Kiah and I, we got you guys covered for like a good 50 years. So be prepared for that, right? So this is where we're going. This is why it's a movement, because it's never ending. And we really want to leave every listener thinking about something important, something, a different perspective, something that they haven't really seen or heard of before in that particular way. We want people to question. It even happened today on a call that I had with my team. I called myself out on something that I got to give this live. This is a for true thing what happened today. So I was on a call with my team and we were talking about impacting change in our stores, right? And it was a simple it's a simple process that we were talking about, but it seems to be difficult for some people to kind of emulate those types of small behaviors or small changes. And And I don't know what came over me, but I'm like, I said something about, um, well, we have a choice. We can do this or we can write them up. And then I was like, what the? I'm like, I'm calling myself out. I'm like, that's negative. We don't just say we're going to write somebody up like that.
Mhm.
This is like, and then I took a step back and I said, whoa, I don't know where that came from, guys. That's an old version of me that just snuck in there, but it still happens. And I turned it, I called myself out. So self accountability, self awareness, that was something that I no longer believe in, that writing up somebody is a criticism or some sort of disciplinary action, because we deliver it as supportive and encouragement, and we're here
Mhm.
to build that contract between two people to
Mhm.
be able to help progress them further, right? Like
Oh yeah.
that's how I've delivered it forever. So these little things,
Yep.
these beliefs are so deeply embedded in us.
Mhm.
That's why the self-awareness needs to be there. That's why the questions of everything that
Yes.
comes out of our mouth. Why do we believe that? Or
Yes.
where is that coming from?
Yes. 100%. Like I can say being a DEI practitioner has positioned me in a very like pressure cooker way of discovering what that means for myself and then also what that means for other people. And it's not just in a way that you're like, oh, well, everybody assumes that DEI just has to do with like obvious things like race or gender. But the truth of it is that it's about humanity. It's about people's identities. It's about interpersonal relationships. And so when you talk about thinking about what comes out of your mouth and thinking about why and asking yourself, why do I believe this thing? This is like awareness is DEI 101. And awareness of yourself, awareness of others, these are such crucial and essential things. And for me, when I think about the importance of what you just said, it's like every moment needs to be practiced. Every moment needs to be gone through and learned from. When you said earlier that conscious leadership it's never done. That's the first thing that I will tell any budding DEI practitioner is that this is work that evolves constantly and it is work that is never done. And the longer and more intentionally we do the work, the more it will become obvious that it's inside of everything. That leadership is inside of everything. It's not just about leading a group of people. It's about leading yourself. It's about leading yourself through the moments of the day. It's about leading yourself through the interactions that you have with people. And when you have to come to a point of then leading a group of people, really thinking about how are you positioning yourself to show up in the best way for them. And so, Cheryl, this makes me want to ask you, like, as we're talking about being aware of ourselves in moments, like, what was the moment that you were like, conscious leadership? Do you remember?
Oh, yes, I do actually.
Hmm.
So for me, and I am sure that so many people can relate to this, I was living two completely separate lives. I had my career
Hmm.
persona
Hmm.
and I had who I was as a persona, like outside of work. They were completely different human beings. They were
Hmm.
completely, I feel like at some time they even had completely different belief systems. It was crazy to
Oh,
me.
yes.
Right?
Wild that you
It
said
was,
that. What? What? Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So as I was really starting to practice and being intentional of the things that I did every single day, and I really, honestly, if you start with my social media 2 years ago, you can see the
Hmm.
merging of the two people.
Hmm.
And even as I started that journey of social media, and I didn't know where I was going to go with it. I knew I was really good at helping people build confidence. I knew I was really good about shifting mindsets. I was really good about just getting people to feel really good about themselves,
Hmm.
right? Like I was
Hmm.
so good at that. And that's how I kind of started.
Hmm.
And I was going to go into that. I was trying to get into that realm, but like it just didn't feel quite right. And leadership was always kind of hanging around,
Hmm.
saying that that's your comfort zone. Why are you not like, hello, why are you not here? Why are you way over here? So, like, as I was as I was moving through it, and it just kept pushing me like together and together and together. So when I then started talking a little bit more about leadership and toxic workplaces and behaviors and those types of things. And then I started kind of getting in my groove about like, well, this isn't just relative to how you are when you go to work. And
Mhm.
then it was almost like I was speaking to myself, and but I was still leading my team. Crazy to me. I was still leading my team as that version of me,
Mhm.
probably a better version. I was evolving in that person
Yeah.
still, right?
Yeah.
But I was still separate. I was still separate. I was a separate human being.
Mhm.
And I felt like I was doing twice the work
That's fair.
to grow. I
Mhm.
was doing twice the work because I was doing all this reflection over here in leadership, and I was doing all this reflection over here in my personal life. And I'm like, I just have so much work to do. And then it was like the Big Bang Theory, right? Like, and then all of a sudden it was just, what
There
are
it
you
was.
doing?
There it was.
What are you doing? Why are you two different people?
Mhm. Mm.
When I started feeling overwhelmed about trying to fix personal me versus leadership me, I was like, what? And then literally Big Bang. And I didn't quite put the word intentional or conscious to it. But I'm like, but I'm me. I am me, and I want to be me always. And that's when I really practice authenticity. I've been pretty genuine person my whole entire life, but
Mhm.
truly like my integrity. I knew what integrity meant, and I was pretty good at integrity, but I mean, I was like integrity, boundaries. Like it was like one right after another just kind of hit me, and I was like, conscious. And with my friend Leanne, who we're going to have on as a guest at some point in our journey, she really helped organize the words in my brain to kind of put them
Mhm.
together. And that's how conscious leadership. I had never read a book I had about conscious leadership. Now
Mhm.
I'm on all sorts of everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and now I just search it out because I'm like, I need more. I need to know more. I want to
Mhm.
continue to be the best.
Mhm.
But there's not a lot out there.
Right.
There is not a lot out there. And when I recognized that,
Mhm.
that's when the podcast just made sense.
Yep.
That's how it all kind of came to be.
Yeah.
And you happen to be this huge, energetic soul family match for me, that one conversation with you, there was no doubt, zero doubt that you would be a guest, and zero doubt that this is where this was going to go. Like it was like a knowing.
Yeah.
It was just knowing.
I was wildly impressed by the knowing. Like, honestly, the way you showed up and you were like, but really, you're going to be I was like, I don't know. She's saying this with a lot of confidence. And I was blown away because this is so far outside of like the realm of my personal comfort zone. And I think that I have pretty much consistently wondered what it is that I have to share with people that will influence them positively or really matter. And I feel, part of my job, honestly, is to inspire people on a daily basis. And when you talk about living as two separate people with two separate belief systems, that is really hard as somebody with as many identities and as many equity deserving groups as I have, but also as somebody who is a DEI practitioner in an organization. They're the needs of the business, and they don't always align with the needs of the people. And it is really, really difficult to put people first when you're facing systems that are not designed for that authenticity that you spoke about in humans to shine through. And so where I go and I discuss the needs of the business and then I, sprinkle pieces of, but this is how people support this. I know internally my entire driving force is reinforcing systems that are going to support the growth and development and equity of these work environments. And where we talk about things that are missing, we're so accustomed to leaders that manage, that look at, what has to get done to keep the lights on, but no vibe is really given that people are the fundamental part of keeping the lights on. We can talk about all of the systems in the world, all of the POSs. We can talk about all of the financial things. We can talk about all of the EBITDA. We can do all of those things. We can talk about all of the AI, but the things are driven by the people. The things are built by the people. Those things are executed and delivered by the people. And, retail is such a huge passion of mine. There's no business without the people who work in retail. And where we are so lacking is in senior leadership's ability to enable other levels of leaders within their organizations to not like drag results out of people, but just have them come naturally. And so when we talk about what conscious leadership looks like, we talk about how it shows up in work, we talk about how it shows up in our families, in our personal lives, whatever the case may be. It really is, I know there are days that I go to work and I'm somebody who I'm not inherently. I show up at my job as a completely different human being with a completely different belief system. I do it consciously, though. I do it knowingly, and I do it understanding the intention of why I'm doing it and what I'm sacrificing to get it done. And that's another part of leadership for me, where it's like, I'm not always going to be able to have sunny, shiny days, but I am going to show up with my best self to do the thing that I want to do, which is empower other people, to give people safe spaces, to give people spaces of belonging. I cannot, in good faith, work without doing that. So there's a part of my work that is so perfect for me because it still gives me the space to like really be driven by that, but also not always easy. But knowing that it's not easy and knowing that there are things that I have to do to balance myself, to show up in the best way for the people that I'm trying to empower, for the people that I'm trying to enable, it's rewarding to be able to do that. So as the two of us talk about our differing life experiences and our different perspectives, and we have different folks come on the podcast and talk about what these things mean to them, it's such a powerful thing for me to think about being a part of, because we're offering a space for people to share perspectives. And one of the worst things that somebody can feel is alone. So if you're out there and you're hearing this and you're thinking, wow, this person shares my perspective, which in a lot of spaces, in a lot of rooms, can just be like wildly atypical, can just seem so abnormal. And when you're sitting there feeling like you're alone and you're the only one, it's painful. So to give space for people to come and talk about how they are believing in the growth of people through consciously leading themselves and others around them. Cheryl, I'm talking about gold, man. This is like,
Yeah.
that's what emotionally matters to me in all of this, is the ability to give space for people to share how they are believing in themselves and believing in the people around them, to show up as a leader, to get the people part of this done,
And I'll also add, because you were talking about how you became not became, you are intentionally going into your workplace kind of as a different entity of really of who you truly are, which is interesting because I think for me, recognizing that part of my challenge on this journey of merging those two and really sticking to who I am,
Mhm.
first, it really triggers a lot of people now,
Yeah.
especially people I worked with for a long time. Um, some in a really great way, it kind of is inspirational, and other, it's uncomfortable for
Mhm.
them,
Mhm.
and they don't really know how to navigate that. But for me, it's still, because you're so awake now to other people's choices and behaviors, and
Mhm.
the more you practice, the more you learn, the more that the more you learn that you can't control and you can't actually change somebody, the
Mhm.
more that you have to allow people to take their own journey. At first, though, that was a challenge for me to learn, but now as it becomes easier to recognize that in other people and letting them, take their own journey, make their own choices, you get to see how prevalent the ego is at some levels
Yep.
of, right, of leadership. The
Mhm.
ego, it just takes over. So they're limiting themselves, and I feel,
Mhm.
before I would feel frustrated, and now I almost feel sad for them,
Mhm.
because I want such good for them,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not able to see it because the ego is really clouding of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
The people to them are just a means to an end, and not human beings to nurture and encourage. And
Yeah.
you, as you become more awake, and that's why I love this platform, because we get to help people navigate or see how to navigate through some of those challenges and some of those obstacles that you're going to face once you start this beautiful journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's great internally for yourself. It's great to reach these beautiful levels of like self-awareness and accountability and being able to really stand true to who you
Oh,
are,
yes.
no matter who's in front of you. But I'm not going to lie, it's not easy.
Not
And there are going
even.
to be like super challenges and super obstacles that are going to feel like mountains.
Yep.
But if you're here and you hear other people's stories and you can relate and you can see how people have navigated through them,
Mm-hmm.
we might help you speed up that climb over that mountain, or that swim across the river, or
Yeah.
whatever platform that you need to get across.
I mean, and in the world of DEI and like engagement and all of the spaces that I'm in right now, it's not even necessarily the speeding up of getting over the thing, but the slowing down of the backslide because it really
Oh.
is. It's work that
Mm.
is, it
Mm,
feels like
mhm.
one step forward, seven steps backwards, when in reality, it's maybe like one step forward and three steps backwards, but it takes an emotional toll. And, one of the things that came to me earlier this year was when I said, this is the last year that I'm going to let myself dim my light for other people because it has not emotionally benefited me. And the work that I do is not getting any easier. It's not changing in its, reduction of friction to success. That's not altering. But what is going to change and what has changed is I code switch less. I show up more authentically, regardless of how uncomfortable it's going to make people, knowing though that there are certain environments where really my authentic self is so frightening to people. Like even me having my hair out right now is something that distracts people to in a way that they sometimes can't even hear what it is that I'm saying. And so I'm aware of that. That's part of me being conscious and understanding that if I'm going to get the outcome, I have to show up in a way where people can hear. One. But two, the things that I know about the people who are triggered by me, the things I know about people who are triggered by the pressure of having to be receptive to authenticity. And then as leaders themselves, and not junior leaders, not inexperienced leaders, but as senior leaders who they themselves have to evolve out of the belief that a hierarchy will just get the job done, watching them go through it and supporting them through it is maybe one of the most rewarding things that I could possibly do because it's not easy for them. It's not easy for them to break the molds of the things that they know and the things that they believe to be true when they're hearing somebody say, we have to look at this a different way. And I always say to people, like, managing is when you say to somebody, I need you to do this, this, and this. Leading is when you say to somebody, let's look at why we are where we are. Let's evaluate the how of how we got here. Let's really dig into what it means for us to be here and then talk about a non-reactive pathway forward. Then we talk about building proactive pathways forward. And that requires a lot of shedding of traditional ways of leading. That requires a lot of shedding of your ego because the hard answer is if you're a leader and we're in a tough spot, you are the reason why we're in the tough spot. Like you can blame
Well, and that's what I
everybody
was
and everything
thinking.
around you. But if you're not calling the thing what it is, where you as a leader didn't see an opportunity to challenge a system, you as a leader didn't see the opportunity to create or enable your team. These are the things that have us in this space, and it's hard. That is a tough ego hit, hard.
And being able to disconnect the ego from the responsibility, because I think in their mind it's the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have a large responsibility, but you don't have to have the ego to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
You can let that go and still hold on to the responsibility and show up in the way that your people need you to show up in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's the accountability piece. Like, responsibility again is like keeping the lights on. You're going through the checklist, you're going through the motion, but that accountability, that that's home. Accountability is the home of leadership. If you can look at yourself and say, I have got to shed all of the things that are preventing me from being accountable for the success of this or accountable for the failure of it, you're still just being responsible. You're still just managing. You're not leading. You're just coping. You're not thriving. There's a big difference in that.
Very big difference.
hmm I,
Very big.
I also have a question around like when you started shifting yourself into this more authentic version. You're showing up in a way that you feel is a reflection of yourself. Who did you feel around you was most triggered or most reactive to that presence of Cheryl?
Like in my workplace?
In your workplace, in your life,
Oh, in my life.
in any spaces where you were just like accustomed to leading.
Oh, that's putting me on the spot. I mean, so many people, but it's, how can I describe it? I did lose people that were meant to not be attached to me any longer, which felt really good
Mhm,
to not be connected to those parts anymore.
mhm,
For me, my friends and my family were uncomfortable, but I can't say that they were necessarily triggered. They're still trying to figure out who I am now,
mhm,
right? Because they've been with me for so long, they still see you. And that's another obstacle, right? When you're going through this, people are still going to see you in this old version of you because that's their experience of you.
mhm,
But so I spend a lot of time trying to get somebody to see that I was a new version of me. Well, that didn't go well.
mhm,
So just being me always and truly, genuinely, authentically, now they're starting to respond differently to me,
mhm,
especially my friends and family that have been with me for a very long time.
mhm,
Now they're more encouraging. Now they're more like, "Oh, you got this." And now
mhm,
it might still not be their space to live in at the moment,
mhm,
but they're still there for me. So which is really, really good. At work, I mean, I lost people. I
mhm,
lost a lot more people in my workspace.
mhm,
Um, my relationships with some of my superiors,
mhm,
I feel have shifted, not necessarily in a good way.
mhm,
Um, because maybe they're not aligned, maybe they're on a completely different journey in their life
mhm,
than I was, and I was one that was a bit of a people pleaser or not necessarily morphed to please somebody in work, but I was a rule follower, do-gooder,
mhm,
kind of, like that. So it was really hard to see when I started saying no, when I started setting boundaries and saying no, I have too much on my plate.
mhm,
That really shocked them.
mhm,
But I was the one person that kept getting a lot of stuff put on my plate all the time.
mhm,
And when I finally said, no, I can't do that, or I can't take that on, or I'm not going to be able to complete that today, it was like, what? Are you okay? So they were all like thinking that there was
mhm,
something wrong with me. I'm like, no, I'm just out here
mhm.
now living my best life, and I'm here for me
I'm
now.
just, I'm just out here thriving. Like y'all go
Yeah.
on and do what y'all gonna do, but I'm out here thriving.
Right. So I did. I lost a couple of leaders. I relationships with some of those superiors. Yeah, it did shift significantly. But I'm also at the place knowing that this is because this is where it needs to be now,
Mhm,
right? So I'm just trusting in the process. I'm just trusting that this is my journey and this is who I am.
mhm,
And I'm no longer willing to change for somebody else unless I feel like there's something that I can learn.
woo, mhm,
Right? I'm not doing
mhm,
it. I'm changing for me. I'm growing for me.
mhm,
I'm going to show up for me
mhm,
so that I can show up in the way that I want with everybody else in all of my relationships
mhm,
that comes from a place of love and compassion
mhm,
and just a genuine desire to be a really great human being.
mhm. Yeah. That's such a like poignant and like unpopular opinion about what it means to give to other people. You can't give nothing from you can't give anything from nothing. If you are depleted, if you are burnt out, if you're exhausted, if you're not living a truth, there's only so much lie you can give to the world. And so when you're encouraging yourself to thrive, that same energy can go into the people that you love, and they can also achieve things along with you or through you or be inspired by you. I mean, I have seen a lot of I so like as like a personal note, I'm my mother's first daughter. Like I am my parents' first daughter, first child. I'm my grandparents' first grandchild. Like I'm the first of everything. And so I made my parents parents, and that is change in and of itself. So my whole life I've been very attuned to the key things that come from watching change happen in people. And it is a really hard positioning when you feel like you can't show up for somebody, or when you feel like you're not doing the best that you can for them, because you know that everybody's changing, everybody's evolving, and it's kind of your responsibility or your job to be there, support them, show up. However, I've always been relatively outspoken, even though I'm super shy. Like I've always been relatively outspoken and kind of just been like, I'm gonna do this my way. Like I don't really care what it is, I'm gonna do it my way. But there's still a certain level of like deference and respect, and a lot of the shame and guilt that I felt from times where I've moved off of a path that would have been what my family expected of me. And over the years, I can say my family is like so supportive of me as a human being in all that I do, really. But over the years, I've just come accustomed to me showing up in a different way, or having different thoughts or different opinions or different beliefs or whatever the case may be. And so as I move into more and more conscious spaces of how I'm showing up for my family, how I'm showing up for my communities, how I'm doing all of these things, I get less resistance from my family and from my friends, and significantly more confusion from the people who I work with. Where they're just like, wow, you didn't speak in that random accent that just showed up. And they just like assume that my emotional regulation is so low. But there's an intentional fusing of myself into these spaces as people who become like I've been in this role for 5 years. So as people get more used to me and they become more accustomed to me, things will start to show up. And I can tell sometimes they're like, what is going here? What is it doing? Like this is new. This is wild. But it really is also me believing that I owe it to people from equity deserving groups. There are a lot of people in the world who don't know what it's like to be the only one in a room. There's nothing more isolating and terrifying than being the only one in a room. And if you're in a room as the only one, I feel like I have a responsibility to lead an invisible line forward, to move an invisible line forward where it's less a standard, less a stereotype, less an expectation, and more of this is a human being who has authentic feelings, has authentic thoughts, has authentic positioning. And this is what we cannot expect from them. We're not expecting stereotypes. We're not expecting the things that we were taught. So the resistance has come more from people just being like, never heard that part of Kiah before. Well, yes, you haven't heard this part of Kiah, but it's also part of my responsibility. It's part of me being accountable for the role that I'm in to bring a different perspective to these spaces, to these rooms. It's kind of wild. As I'm talking, I'm like, I'm wild. What am I ever even doing aside from making people uncomfortable?
Well, I'll just share. My most favorite saying is, if you're feeling uncomfortable, that just means that you're learning and
It means
growing.
you're growing.
So good on you that you are really encouraging growth, and the people that are feeling absolutely uncomfortable
I mean,
around
it's
you.
uncomfortable for me too, because I'm like, wow, I don't even know if this is like going, like, what is too far? What is too far? What is that?
There's no too far.
But we're real, well, but like, we're really out here pushing boundaries, and that's part of growth. That is honestly, like you were saying, it's part of growth. There's no world in which you can expect to be comfortable and still be making progress. It's not it. Rest is revolutionary. So everybody take a break. Everybody compose themselves, regroup, get it together. But at the end of the day, that real growth comes from those moments where you're like, I don't know about this. I don't know about
Right.
this. But the difference is you don't run away from being like, I don't know about this. You ask, why do I feel this way? What is causing this discomfort? What do I know? And who told me? Who told me the thing that I'm supposed to be believing right now?
Where did this come from?
Where did this come from?
That's a question I ask myself all the time.
Yeah, because so much of what we learn is, generational. So much of what we
Right.
learn is handed down from us or handed down to us from generations before, not just in like our personal worlds, but in workspaces, like where we talk about traditional leadership just being outdated and it's not going to work anymore. It's not going to work anymore. The way societies are evolving, the way they're growing, developing, traditional leadership it's not going to work anymore. So I think the more people ask the question, like, where did this style of leading come from? And why is it not effective right now? That's where this movement shows up and lives. It's like there are answers to this. There are a bunch of people talking about this, and somebody is going to share the same perspective as you, and you're going to hear a bunch of new perspectives too. And growing your catalog of perspectives, diversifying your perspective portfolio.
Challenging your
So,
beliefs, getting people around you to think twice about why they
mhm,
did something. Truly, but this is why it is truly a movement.
mhm,
It's to help people find themselves, it's to help people wake up, to help people have more self-awareness, more self-accountability, to be able to truly experience this human life
yep,
the way that it's meant to be experienced. Like,
mhm,
oh,
get it,
like just love, light, passion, shine, just shine your light,
shine it, be
shine it.
passionate. I feel like everybody should give themselves the permission to like think about one thing that in their past or in the present is like it's ignited something inside of them and they like just challenge yourself to be passionate about it. This what you and I are doing was not literally even something that 6 weeks ago I would have thought I would ever do. And I just gave myself the space to say yes and try it and be passionate about it. And this is so exciting to me. I think about it in the days. I'm thinking about it at night. I'm like so excited and so passionate about this. And it has changed the way I wake up in the morning. It's changed the way I move through my
Right.
day because
Right.
when it's just one thing. It can just be one small thing that can change the course of how you want to show up and what that actually means, you
Right.
know?
Yep. And I would even mention when you're talking about recognizing or, thinking about that one, like questioning that one belief that has been hanging around,
Mhm,
choose that one that just feels uncomfortable when you make that choice in the moment.
mhm,
Because there's something wrong with that.
mhm,
Like there's something inside of you that it's not sitting right with you. And it happens throughout a whole day.
mhm,
And
mhm.
it'll kind of catch you off guard. And then generally we'll just like keep moving past it because this is how we've always thought, or this is how we've always, moved through X, Y, or Z. But
Mhm,
stop and ask yourself,
mhm,
why do I believe this?
mhm.
Where is this coming from? Where did I learn this? And does it make sense to me?
I mean, get it. Where did I learn this? And then, be prepared to go through the work of unlearning because wow, what a thing that is. And nothing will give you like a greater sense of accomplishment in yourself once you've unlearned something that is just not even necessarily just not true, but it's just not real anymore. It's just not serving you anymore. Sometimes a thing may still be perfectly practical for other people, but it's just not serving you anymore. Like, how empowering is it to look at yourself and be like, I'm not just going to be like everybody else in this moment? And one of the things, again, that goes back to how we both believe in this being a movement is where you said, this is the way that we've always moved through this. Well, it takes a movement to change a movement. This is not the same standard status quo thinking or way of existing or way of showing up. You got to unlearn the way you moved before and get get to step in with the other things, get to step in with the things you're learning through the unlearning process. And it's just fulfilling. I
Right.
I love a good uncomfortable moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring it on. Bring it on. Uncomfortable moments. That's all I got to say. But it is. I mean, I search them out at this point, honestly. I'm like,
You
what is going to
look
make me feel
for
uncomfortable?
discomfort.
I do. Like, what am I going to learn today? I'm going to
Yeah.
go find something that's going to make me feel really uncomfortable,
Yep.
and I'm going to put myself through that. The
Mhm.
first, our test one, our test podcast, I thought I was going to be sick to my stomach. I was so nervous, so afraid. And I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
where is this coming from?
But you know what is
So
actually
we're in.
literally so funny is that as we were, and like I realized that you don't do like a lot of
No.
public speaking, and I do. Like it's part of my job to literally just like get in front of people and have conversations and one-on-one conversations, like group conversations, the hosting panels, whatever the case may be. But there have been times where before I get on to host a panel, I will literally sit and be crying and be like, why do I do this to myself? And I sometimes not do the hard thing. But honestly, the more trepidation I feel before I get into that thing, the greater the reward. Because I will literally start, I'll just be like, why do I do this? Sitting there sobbing, weeping, sitting, sobbing, weeping, being like, why do I do this? Like, it's okay to not do it. And then once I do it, I'm like, God, I'm glad I did it because it's so
Yeah.
rewarding. And then I'll talk about it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I will.
Bam.
I
That's the
do.
reason why right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. The success. Oh,
But no
I have
matter,
another story about that, but that is going to have to be a story for another time. Because,
well, no, you guys all got
yeah,
to listen for that one.
yeah, because this
Stay tuned.
particular story really talks about how people see um doing big momentous things in different ways. Like some people see it as, wow, I did a great thing for myself, for my community, for my people. And other people see it as, do you not feel morally superior now? I know. I've heard these words. Literally. I could not. And then I realized I was like, yeah, this is how leaders function. It's why they're so afraid of a zero sum game that doesn't exist anywhere. But anyways, I'm really taking us down paths right now. I'm really taking us down paths.
I'm like, I don't even, that was like a big U-turn in the road right there.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah.
I love going off trail. Ask any of my friends, actually. That's a very funny story. Definitely off trail person right here. But we are going to wrap up this most exceptional debut episode. We could talk forever, clearly. And this is why,
Clearly.
again, you got to stick around for the next 50 years because we got to hear all the stories,
Yeah.
all of the journeys that everybody is on,
Mhm,
because that's the thing.
mhm,
When you think about traditional leadership, it was a checklist of things to do
mhm,
and you followed that checklist. Conscious leadership, you choose your journey. You choose who you want to be. You choose where you want to go, what path to take, how to get from point A to point B.
Fair enough.
We are here to share the stories. We are here to bring this space to people that want to be on their journey and whatever that looks like to
Mhm.
help support, encourage, inspire, motivate you
Oh,
to step up and really truly shine
mhm,
unapologetically.
mhm. Unapologetically.
Unapologetically.
Shine.
Yep. So I want to say thank you all for being here, for listening to our debut
Mhm,
episode of the Conscious Leaders Unfiltered. We
mhm,
really do encourage anybody that has a really spectacular story that they want to share,
mhm,
a path, a piece of their journey with us
mhm,
on this so other people can really relate and understand the importance of it and
mhm,
how beautiful it is and how you truly get to experience that sense of joy and love
mhm.
as you're moving through this because it is a completely different feeling when you when you take care of you,
Whoop,
when it starts within you.
whoop,
It truly does.
whoop.
So make sure that you complete the form at Cheryl@shinewithc.com. You can email there, or you can fill out the form at shinewithc.com. You can request to be a guest. We'll try to get back to everybody within, give us like 24 to 36 hours just to give us a little bit of time to move through all of the things and to organize our lives. But we truly want to
Yep.
share all of your experiences. We want to share all of the tools you guys have out there. We want to share all of the best practices. We want to share everything that you have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
We're here for it all.
Here for it. I can't
So
wait.
today, I can't wait. That's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, one last sentiment right now: go out, find the good, and lead with love.